Hey everyone, in this video I'll show you how we finally installed our subfloor, and I can't tell you how amazing it felt to finally be able to walk across this trailer. So in the previous video I showed you how we installed a subfloor made of OSB, or oriented strand board, and in this video I'll show you how we use those pieces as templates to install a subfloor made of Coosa. If you're like me, you've probably never heard of Coosa, but when I emailed Relic Trailers here in Tacoma to ask them what kind of material they use in their subfloors, they replied either plywood, marine grade plywood, or Coosa. Coosa, it turns out, is a high density polyurethane foam reinforced with fiberglass. It has 1.5% by weight moisture retention, and it will never rot. It's also 40 to 60% lighter than plywood. The company has a few different types which come in different thicknesses, and when I asked them what kind would be good for the subfloor, they replied the 3/4 inch Blue Water 26 series would be the best. The 26 seems to be in the mid-range of their products in terms of density and strength. Unfortunately, Coosa isn't widely available, and my mom and I had to take a road trip down to Portland, Oregon to pick up the 6 sheets we needed. And it ain't cheap either, $375 a sheet. Compare that to OSB at about $28 a sheet, regular plywood ranging between $40 to $80 a sheet, and marine grade plywood at about $140. I did look at pressure treated plywood as an option as well, but because it has so much copper in it from the treatment process, it's not suitable for being in contact with aluminum because it'll cause the aluminum to corrode. All right, so let's take out this back section.
There you go.
We decided to start with this back piece because we'll need room to maneuver it in without other pieces in place. And to do that, we'll need to remove the next section as well.
There you go.
Because of how we put it in the OSB subfloor with this rear piece last, we had to make it in 3 pieces. But now with the Coosa, we can make it as a single piece. Here I'm just using a piece of hard welding chalk to trace the outline.
Oh!
You're too fast for me.
Because I watered your hostas.
And I can't tell you what a relief it is to cut this Coosa with templates that I know fit, because this stuff is expensive. Make sure to wear a mask and gloves because this does have fiberglass in it.
More here?
We're gonna have to set up the jack here again to try and lift this whole thing.
Okay.
So that then we can then kind of more freely move the sides. As you can see, we have a piece of plywood spanning a few of the frames in the ceiling where we're jacking it up. And that's because it can bend very easily if you're pushing against just one frame. There we go. Okay, and then let it down. Actually, let's try and put it down. Here we're figuring it out that it's easier to start with the panel up at an angle and put one end in first, then lower the other end while pushing the side of the trailer out. We should be able to, there we go. Ah, what a dream. Okay.
Look at that, Daniel.
Yeah, and it actually needs to go further back, but because of the way it's pushing it up, it's not able to go back as far as it should. So I'm gonna just try and let it down a little bit. Okay, let's see if we can scoot it back.
Oh, look at that.
That feels so good to have it in as one piece.
Yes.
On the second sheet, we were able to take 2 of the OSB templates and turn it into one piece of Coosa subfloor. And to cut through the Coosa, I was using a regular wood blade, and you can see how quickly it gets worn out. I think I went through 2 or 3 of them. As long as it's kind of centered on that beam. Let's see if we can. There we go. Okay, that's good. Ah, this is tricky. Because this board has moved a couple inches this way.
Yeah. There we go.
So now the trick is,
To get that.
while we're putting it down, we need to push that one. I wonder if I need to get underneath the trailer. I might need to do that.
Would you have any leverage?
This part was unexpectedly tricky because when the shell is lifted up, the skirting that bends in very steeply actually pushes this panel further forward than it should be. Okay, can you try and let it down really slowly? So we're trying to figure out how to lower the shell and push this panel into position at the same time. That is very satisfying. That's so much better than it was before. So in place of 5 boards, we now have 2.
Yes.
Now we're moving to the front section because we need to be able to slide this big curved piece in without other pieces in the way. But first, we need to get both of these OSB panels out of the way. Those OSB boards are heavy. All right, now we need to move the jack and then do it from here. There we go. Okay.
Oh my God.
All the old boards taken out.
Yes!
And one more, that's enough.
Ow.
All right. Yeah, all right, let's let it down.
Oh. Get your fingers out.
Okay. Get it this end up like this, right?
Okay.
There we go. So that way, once you lift it, I can just...
Put one side in.
Yeah. Okay. That's enough. All right, I wonder if we could do this next one in one piece as well. One of the advantages of redoing the subfloor is that we can close up gaps like this around the wheel well. Here you can see that we've traced lines on the Coosa that should fit more tightly with the wheel wells. I'll bring it this way. Okay. There we go. Oh, I see how much it bends. Here we're noticing an issue, and I'll show you how we fix that in a minute.
Like you're going. Shall we try it the other way? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
There we go.
Ah! That's a 2-hand one. Dang it, we've got all the floor in.
One thing I do miss about the OSB is that they were tongue and groove joints, so that the seams were pretty well supported. And unfortunately here, the frame underneath is about 1 inch away from this joint between the 2 Coosa boards. And so this one depresses very easily. So in order to address that, we're going to put this piece of angle beneath the Coosa to sandwich it between the channel of the shell. So just when you're breaking through a layer of metal, sometimes it makes little burrs that then catch the drill bit. Now I'm holding this piece of angle underneath while my mom uses a Sharpie to mark where the holes need to go. And there it is, marked up. And now to the basement to drill the holes. As usual, I recommend drilling a pilot hole with a small drill bit before getting to the size you need. Here are the bolts and washers that we'll use to secure this. You're not using the right tool, are you? Perfect. And while my mom puts them in from above. Okay, that one started. I'm underneath putting the last washers and the lock nuts. Now we're just tightening them with a ratchet and a wrench.
Okay. That's it.
Now you can see it doesn't move down. And here's just for comparison. One of these joints in the Coosa is going to be under the fridge, so it's not as critical, but the other is going to be in the bathroom, and so in a high traffic area. So to really reinforce these joints, we're going to install pieces of steel channel. Here I'm using the template to transfer holes with the center punch into the channel, and then drilling it out. Then using a deburring tool to clean up the holes. We chose steel for these pieces so we wouldn't have to worry about galvanic corrosion with these steel bolts. But of course we have to worry about rust, so we have to prime and paint these pieces. So this is why I wanted to make the template, so I can make sure and make the holes in the Coosa board at the exact right spots to match with the channel that we got. And I drew this dividing line on the template so I knew exactly where to line it up with the seam. Now I'm going to drill the holes so these taper head screws can go through. And now I'm going to countersink the holes so that the heads sit flush with the top. So I'll go under there and let's try and line it up with that first hole.
Just digging into the fiberglass stuff.
Is it? Okay, stop.
They're really getting deep. Do you want them deep?
So in hindsight, I probably wouldn't recommend countersinking these because you can see some of them got quite deep. The test. Look at that.
Solid.
Yeah, right there, doesn't move.
Not at all.
So to connect the shell to the chassis, I've got this assortment of fasteners here to do the job. Because I had spent so long replacing aluminum that was in contact with steel and corroded away, I really wanted to make sure there was no metal contact between the aluminum of the shell and the steel of the chassis. Here's a reminder of the corrosion that we're hoping to avoid. So to accomplish that, I have this stack of fasteners. It's a stainless steel bolt with a stainless washer, a nylon sleeve, a nylon washer, a stainless steel washer, and then a lock nut. So I'm installing these in all the original locations of the anchor bolts, but I do need to make these holes a little bit bigger to accommodate for the diameter of the nylon sleeve. Just a quick note here, some of the footage coming up actually shows the OSB subfloor, and that's because we went through the entire process of installing that as the vinyl subfloor before deciding to put in the Coosa. But it still shows a process we went through, but didn't necessarily capture while doing the Coosa subfloor. Those were the holes that I need to make bigger. And I've already pulled this in and have it secured with 2 bolts that I did previously. So this is in the right position. And now I just need to drill down. So there's the bigger hole, and drop everything but the lower washers and lock nut into the hole, and then put the washers and the lock nut in from below. I can't make it any tighter while I don't have somebody else to help. Well, maybe I could put a wrench up there and have it get stuck. And then I could turn this one. And even without these bolts tightened, this is super solid already. I've made my life a little bit easier by putting this wrench on there and then a little weight. And that way it at least holds the bolt relatively still while I try and get the washers and the nut on. Some of these holes are really close to the frames. So in these, I've been trying to drill from below. There's a good hole drilled. This part of the process takes a lot of crawling around underneath the trailer, so be prepared. Let's go see where it came out. So the hole I just drilled from below is a little further in than I'd like it to be, so I need to hold this side in while I'm down there. So I'm gonna use these clamps to pull on the side, because that side is already bolted down, and this will pull the other side in. Oof. Okay. Oof. Way to finish that one from above. So I definitely recommend stepping up through the drill sizes when you're doing something like this. It's a lot less likely to catch, and it just makes it a lot easier. There aren't any chassis supports underneath a lot of this curve, so I'm just going to pick a few points to drill down to put some bolts to help sandwich the shell to the subfloor. For the bolts that don't go through the chassis as well, you might need to cut some of the nylon spacers shorter. And tightening them all up is much easier with 2 people. I think we put in over 20 sets of these bolts and all the hardware, and it cost about 180 bucks because we went with stainless steel. Bit of a wobbly floor right now, and it does build up static. I just shocked myself on my head on the ceiling again. To secure the subfloor to the chassis and help prevent the floor from moving up and down while walking on it, I got these from the electrical aisle, the midget one-hole straps, and some number 10 by 1/2 inch screws. When we gutted this trailer, we saw that the floor was actually screwed down into the chassis, and all those holes were threaded in the chassis. And I didn't want to do all that again, and I didn't want to make more holes in the chassis. So we just went with these clips, and they worked really well. We probably put in about 200 of them. Finally, we drilled some big holes for the drain tubes of the roll-down window boxes. Overall, this ended up being an unexpectedly expensive part of the project, coming in at around $2,500. The Coosa subfloor alone was about $2,400, and all the connectors, the bolts, and all the little clips came in at about $180. Doing the reinforcements to the Coosa flooring cost an additional $50. Not cheap, but we're really happy to have a subfloor that we don't have to worry about. In terms of time, my mom and I worked a total of about 30 hours on this project, not counting the trip down to Portland and other shopping trips. So if you're working on your own trailer, I hope this video has been helpful, and hope to see you next time. I'm not actually recording.
Yes, you are.